far as that concerns. But now we're going to talk about everybody's, I think, the universally most hated of the Fantastic Four movies so far. We'll see what the 2025 one holds. But so far, this one is the considerably the most hated one out of all of them, and that's 2015 Fantastic Four. Starring, Miles Teller is Mr. Fantastic. You got a young Michael B. Jordan. I don't know how when he started acting, but he seems pretty young in this movie in 2015. And then a couple years later, he went on to do Creed and Killmonger and stuff like that. But yeah, this movie I actually watched it tonight, and I've seen reviews of it. I've seen people like the Nostalgia Critic talking about it, and what they think of the movie, and they speak a lot of hyperbole because they probably speak more from like comic book fans. They probably grew up more reading that stuff, and so they probably have more to say about it than I do. But as going into it just as a movie, I think it's really, really lacking in, like I said, you see like, them as kids, like you see Ben and Reed as kids, and you see them grow up, and then they build this like teleporter essentially, and you have this character, I'm guessing is a teacher, but he acts like he's like a principal. But anyway, the character played by Dan Castellaneta, who does the voice of Homer Simpson and a bunch of other characters in The Simpsons. But he plays like this teacher, and basically it's like, he built a teleporter and says like, oh, you're doing a magic trick, and like he blows up a backboard, and it's like, oh, you're disqualified from this competition because it's like a science fair thing that they're doing. I was like, that's weird. That would be pretty interesting to think about, but because he thinks it's some sort of trick that he did, that he kicks him out of the group or whatever. And so he gets the attention from this doctor who is the dad of Johnny Storm and is the adopted father of Sue Storm. And they take Reeds and brings them to the facility, the Baxter facility, and they start building this machine that he basically made in his garage, but they build it on a bigger scale. And they bring in Victor Von Doom, who initially started the project, but they couldn't get anywhere with it. And yeah, it was a whole thing with that character. Who I think in this movie, I like the other actor better. I think because he's played an older version of the character. This one, I'm not sure. He said, I think he's supposed to be old. He's definitely supposed to be older than Reed Richards in the movie, because Reed Richards is in high school. And so I think he's definitely supposed to be older than him, but he acts like he's, just a few years older. But yeah, I think he's supposed to be like a decade or so older than him. But he acts very wienerish. I don't know how to say it, but he's like, he sees, there's a scene where him and Reed and Sue are talking. They're just talking to each other, being cordial. And this guy's like, you need to be professional, and this, that, and the other. It's like, she's not into you, dude. It's like, she's totally. They were separated for a reason. So he's basically, they're trying to do that same storyline where Doom is interested in Sue, but she wants Reed instead of Victor, and they tried to do the whole thing again. But this guy, they weren't even together. They were just like, he's just got a boner for Sue, and was like, we couldn't be together, and this, that, and the other. And then when they go to a planet. The machine works. They go to this planet and they start. Reed and Ben, Johnny and Victor, they all go to this planet, and then they break the ground, and this energy comes up, and they get hurt. Victor gets left behind on this planet, and that's how they basically get their powers. When they come back through the portal, they get their powers like that, kind of in the first movie. But then they go back, and Victor's like, my world, my this, that, and the other. And I don't know, I just thought his character was more whiny in this movie. as far as like superheroing, they don't do very much. I think a lot more people die, a lot more people die in this movie than they do in the other ones, because there's like a scene where they get a sky portal from the Earth dimension to this other world, and like cars and stuff go out there. So you got people on this like stretch of road, and these cars go up in this portal, and so they're dead. They're not alive unless they get out of their car, which they don't see that. So we just see these cars flying up into this portal, so they're dead. And I think as far as like the look, the thing, CGI or what have you, it's 2015, so you really couldn't. I mean, as far as like the Hulk was CGI, so they kind of had to do that. So I think it's all right. I just think the movie's a little like, very darkly lit. Very that first movie, yeah, as cheesy as it is, it's still very vibrant, very bright. You can see the thing. He's very much orange. With this one, you can kind of tell sometimes he's orange, sometimes he looks gray, and it looks very drab. Like and the Snouch critic talked about that. This in his review of it talks about how everybody needs to turn on a light because there's all like this movie is very dark, and so, but as far as like the characters, like I think they nail. I would say they nailed the characters, but I think as far as like what the comics accuracy was going for, I think they did that more in the first one because Johnny, I think specifically, is supposed to be more like this, smart mouth. He knows what he's doing, but he has too big of an ego to do the right thing and stuff like that. And basically, that puts himself in a lot of danger more than he needs to or has to. But he's like this hothead, which is funny because he's a fire character and he's a hot-headed. But regardless, I think they nailed that character more in those first movies than this one. This one, he's more just stubborn because he doesn't want to be like his dad and his adoptive sister, but he wants to do his own thing. But he's smart enough, and it's just weird that they did that instead. But I think they did that better in the first movie because after the incident happens, he gets very serious and all this stuff. It's like I want to join the cause and help the military and all this stuff. And it's like I feel like that's not what the character would do. The first movie, he gets notoriety for being the Human Torch, and then he's like, oh yeah, I got sponsors, and he puts all the logos. I don't know if it was the second one or the first one where he puts all the logos on the uniform, and it's like he's in it for the money, he's in it for the fame, and all this stuff. But this guy, he's like, I want to join the military and I want to be all serious, and I think they just misstepped with that character. I do think the characters are set too young. I think if we would have got him like, he was in college, maybe. If we would have put his characters in high school, as I'm pretty sure he's in high school. Reed Richards is in high school, and Ben Grimm, they're the same age, so then they're in high school together. And I think if you would have said like, oh, he's in college now, I think it would have been a little bit less creepy. Because I don't know how old Sue is. I think she's probably in her mid-20s. So let's say he's 18 years old. 18-year-old messing around with an almost 30-year-old woman. It's a little weird if they're going to have a romantic interest in each other. But I wouldn't say this is like the worst movie ever made. One thing I will say, once they bring back Doom from this other dimension, he has that look, which is his suit that he was wearing. He's wearing like the space suit that he goes there, and with this green goo that comes up and gets all over him, it melds to his skin, and so like his suit and his body, like it's like looks like this metal / rock, fabric amalgamation all over his body, and he doesn't look like he's wearing like the mask, the traditional looking mask, like from the first couple movies, the comics and stuff like that. It just looks like a gimp. It looks like a gimp mask with green eyes and green, lights all over him. But yeah, I mean, as far as the other movies go, I will say this one does rank, as far as right now, it ranks lowest out of all of them.